Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. What I want to talk about is what I believe, in my opinion, is the Nosiest Zodiac sign, and this applies and pertains to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, well, first thing up is as far as Aries goes. Well, Aries obviously can be very abrupt. They can be very impulsive, impatient. I don't think they really have much time to stand around or sit around or whatever and really ask really a lot of questions regarding somebody's life or what have you, their personal business. They can be very incisive. They're right to the point. They don't really waste any time with things. So I don't really see them wasting any time asking a lot of questions. I don't see them as the nosiest zodiac sign. But as far as Taurus goes, well, Taurus, I mean, they're very often very taciturn, very quiet people. They're ones that really don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. So for them to be asking questions, just a lot of personal questions about somebody being overly excessively nosy, I just don't see how that would resonate really that much with Taurus. I think Taurus can be, even though it's a fixed, strong sign, it can be really a little bit timid, somewhat passive. They're not ones about doing something that might start, some kind of confrontation or quarrel with somebody. They're very passive, peace-loving often. I just don't see Taurus as being the nosiest zodiac sign. Now, a viable candidate for this could be Gemini, because Gemini can be very inquisitive. They could ask a lot of questions, and sometimes they can go, even though Gemini can be notorious for being superficial, they can go really beyond the surface and ask people some deeper questions regarding themselves, because they just have this innate desire for information, and sometimes it can be personal. But I'll tell you at the end of the video whether I think it's them or not, but there's certainly a candidate for the nosiest zodiac sign. Now, going to Cancer, well, Cancer can be very introverted. They're very much to themselves. They're not really ones where you would think, they're very much homebodies. They're even very shy. They're not ones that are really about going out and asking a lot of questions in general, and really, so it's not one that you would think would be asking a lot of really personal questions, being nosy, getting into somebody's business. They just generally don't have that desire. They're often dominated by their home, their family interests. The questions they may often ask are ones that are more pertaining to their home and their family life and people they're close to home with, but they generally are not ones. I don't see they could be the nosiest zodiac sign. Now, Leo, the thing about Leo is, I think when I see Leo, of course, they're very domineering. They can be very bombastic and just downright, arrogant and negative manifestation. Sometimes they could come across as a little bit nosy, because what it is, it's kind of like they like to have their control of being controlled. If they're in a supervisor position, they'll often be the ones that are more likely to follow the employees around and monitor them. But it's not so much always because they just want to know where somebody is or what they're doing. They just want to that's their way. Sometimes it's subtle. They're letting them know that they're in control. Sometimes it's very loud, but in really in a vociferous manner. But it's more about wanting people to know that they're boss and they're in charge. It's more in that situation. They could come across that because this is a little bit nosy, but I don't really see them as this nosiest zodiac sign. But the next sign I want to talk about that definitely is a viable candidate like Gemini is Virgo, because Virgo, being ruled by Mercury, can be very inquisitive. They could go, they are, like the inveterate question asker of the zodiac, along with Gemini. They have very strong desire for information. They're often have encyclopedic-like minds. They want to go and find out things about others, and really, but it may not always be personal though. But they are ones that are, they're constantly asking away, firing away. Despite being the shy sign, a feminine sign, they can be ones that can go about and be asking people's various questions, but a lot of them can be health related, things that are Virgo related with diet and fitness. It's often done in a way to get information on people if they want to help them, because Virgo, of course, could be very service oriented, very helpful. But anyway, and I'll tell you at the end of the video whether I think it's done or not. Now, Libra, of course, is, I think, unequivocally the most balanced of the zodiac signs. They are ones that may ask some questions, but it's usually could be a fair amount. It's ones because Libras are very much about, like Taurus, very peace oriented. They don't want to rock the boat. They certainly don't want to bombard others with, inordinate amount of questions, because they don't want to have the person feel rebuffed or feel like that they're bothering them or they're imposing on them. So I think with Libra, I don't see them as the nosiest zodiac sign. But the next sign I'm going to get to, Scorpio. Now, Scorpio can definitely be a prime candidate for the nosiest zodiac sign, because Scorpio is notorious for being very probing. They often they will ask people questions a lot, because a lot of times it's because they're trying to decipher the character and the motives, the character composition of others. They are, because a lot of times what it is, they like to get into the other's background to see if that person's like a potential threat to them. It's really, that is where a lot of their question asking comes out, where they become very inquisitive for those reasons, because it's very protective. The thing about Scorpio, those, when you turn the tables on them and you start asking them a lot of questions about themselves, they might come to an abrupt halt and say, okay, this person's getting into my business now, but they still might find alternate avenues to get into the person's business, such as online background checks, but they may not be doing it in an outwardly nosy manner. But anyway, I'll let you know at the end of the video again whether I think it might be them or not. Now, the next sign to talk about is Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius, I mean, they're of course, very expansive, optimistic, jovial sign. They may ask a certain amount of questions to people, but a lot of times it's just really done. There's nothing really. It's not like they're trying to get info on anyone to use against them at a later point in time. They're just they're very expressive, and again, they can be very outgoing, have gregarious energy, and they just want to just being friendly, like to get to know about people. But Sagittarius also very adventurous, the meanderers of the zodiac. I believe they are ones where, I mean, they're often out to other countries. They just really, they can be kind of flighty. They don't have that. They're not really ones that are going to sit around and be asking a lot of questions to others. I just don't see them as the nosiest zodiac sign. Now we get to Capricorn. Well, Capricorn, I mean, is very introverted, introspective. It's being a feminine sign. They are ones often that have, they're really very much a lot to themselves and dominated by business matters and their ambitions, their career goals and aspirations. They're not ones that are, and they often they might arguably be the quietest sign of the zodiac. It's very hard for me to say they would be the nosiest of the zodiac signs, because they simply are just not overly loquacious or talkative and don't have that kind of energy to really be thinking about asking people questions, especially that of perhaps a personal nature. So I say no to Capricorn. Now, the next sign I want to get into is Aquarius. Now, Aquarius, I mean, they are ones where I don't really see them as the most the nosiest zodiac sign, because Aquarius can be, they are focused on being a universal friend. They are about being very considerate to others. It's an attribute that's really not always touched on a lot in whether it's in astrology blogs, videos, what have you, but because their consideration is so strong, that will often inhibit them from asking questions to others and coming across as being intrusive or trying to find out about others' personal lives. They are about their freedom and independence. They have that live and let live philosophy. So I would say no to Aquarius due to their very powerful consideration of others. And last but not least, they'll get to Pisces. Now, Pisces I don't see as the really that overly that nosy. The thing about Pisces is they can be very reclusive. They're not ones that really have an overabundance of acquaintances or friends. In most cases, they often will isolate themselves from others and go into their own fantasy world. They're not really in situations often where they're going to be asking questions about others, and especially those of a personal nature. Pisces arguably could be the most intuitive of the signs. I think Pisces really don't always feel they need to ask others and go into their personal lives. They might get their sense of this intuitively anyway without having to articulate or verbalize those things. So it's really, for me, I don't see Pisces as really the nosiest zodiac sign. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, well, as far as the nosiest zodiac sign, I'm actually going to go, and obviously it's between Virgo, Gemini, and Scorpio. I'm going to go with Gemini because Gemini really, along with Virgo, can be the most inquisitive of the signs, being ruled by Mercury. But Gemini wins the tiebreaker because they are a masculine sign. The thing about Gemini is, given they have they're very loquacious, very talkative, even downright garrulous, and they change subjects so fast sometimes, they could be relentless question askers. They could ask you one question and then get bored with their answer they're receiving, and then they hurry up and ask you another. I had a friend of mine one time, okay, he has a Gemini sun and moon, and he was asking one question with rapid energy after another. Just somebody says, what did you talk about? You might have said something like, what did you talk about at the movies? What did you talk about after the movies? He asked a couple, they were friends of his, a male and female couple, and he was just like bombarding them one question after another. It was like, it was unbelievable. And I think Gemini sometimes often, a theory I have is that they often want to know about others because sometimes in some isolated cases it can be connected with their vicarious energy. They often will live, I think, through others' lives, and getting that information on it allows them personal data on those people, so to speak, may allow them to do that. What's interesting about Gemini too, I think even maybe especially Gemini moon for whatever reason, is that, well, Gemini moon, which what I have, can be very inquisitive about others' lives, but they really will not divulge much about their personal life. Maybe in some cases, it's a lot of this nosy energy that Gemini has is because they are, what it is, they're not often talking much about their own lives. So what else are they going to do? They're going to ask about others' lives. And it also, Gemini can be the roving reporter of the zodiac. It gives them information that they could later disseminate. Gemini, sadly, has often great difficulty in retaining, like keeping a secret. And what happens is they can be notorious for gossiping and repeating things to others. Gemini needs to have this constant information again to disseminate, to talk about. And I think that's another reason why they can be I do see them as the nosiest. I think really irrebuttably the nosiest zodiac sign. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for what I believe is the nosiest zodiac sign. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be continuing my monthly horoscope segment series. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.